Greetings, everyone. My name is Charles Kovach, the not safe for work presidential candidate campaigning for a more direct democracy. And as a way to try to garner attention for this campaign and this idea, I make videos talking about current events and things that interest me. So let's begin the conversation. I hope you remember that oh so wonderful tax break that we all got a couple years ago. You know, the one where we were supposedly going to pay less taxes, but then found out, oops, we're no longer getting deductibles for the state taxes we pay. Well, a couple of states decided to take the federal government to court to try and get the law changed or allow for deductibles to still be counted, allow for deductions to still be made on people's taxes for state taxes. Not surprisingly, the Supreme Court voted this down, but just thought I'd point out to you one of the ways that we're still getting fucked. Then, of course, I have to mention that Mr. Bloomberg, you know, I'm going to run for a third term of mayor of New York, and I swear I'm going to help out all the 9/11 first responders, even though he stabbed him in the back as soon as he got elected. You know, that guy. What else did he do? Let's see, stop and frisk, that was a big thing of his. Oh, yes, and I think he wants to murder 4 of his children because he thinks everyone in the world should have only one child. Yeah, that guy talked about running for president. I think it's kind of safe to say that I don't like him. Did I get that point across? Yeah, guy's a shithead, to say the least. What else? So, a lot of people like wine. I don't drink alcohol anymore for reasons I've talked about in the past. But yeah, there's this one Israeli winery named Sagat or Sago or something like that. And apparently this winery is lobbying all different places like the American government and the EU and other places to make sure that it doesn't have to label where the wine comes from. The wine comes from the occupied West Bank. Just a little fun tidbit of information I thought I'd share with you all. What else? We have, Lula da Silva, finally free after almost 2 years of some bullshit charge of, hey, somebody gave an apartment for some kind of contract or favor or something like that. I mean, even if it's a very nice apartment, I don't see how a person would really take an apartment for a big contract or a big piece of legislation. I mean, that's kind of on the low end for something on the scale as they've been making out to be. I mean, it's obvious if you go through all the paperwork and all the hearings and everything that it's horseshit. Even the way that the so-called trial was conducted. But at least he's out now. After you got this right-wing asshole going in and wrecking the country. But then again, you know, like I've said before, that's what's going on all around the world. You know, I'd just like to point out again that people like Reality Winner, Chelsea Manning, and even Assange, who's still being prosecuted, or persecuted really, and Manning's still in jail, right? I haven't heard about Manning getting released. All these people are being persecuted for telling us about the horseshit that's going on around the world, and yet you're not hearing about what's going on around the world. And like I've said before, the world is on fire. Everywhere is protesting. You got Bolivia, who the mainstream media is trying to say, oh, it's the Russians, which is complete horseshit. You've got Iraqi protesters, you know, we went in there to bring them democracy, and then we pulled out, and the country fell apart, and then we went back in there to bring them more democracy, and then we pulled out, and... Well, anyways, the people in Iraq are protesting and basically getting gunned down by American-backed security forces. This is what it's like all over the world. Also, you got in, Colombia? Colombia, you got a bunch of, you've had over 100 indigenous leaders and activists murdered in this year alone. People just trying to protect their homes. And they've been getting murdered by not only the drug cartels, but evidence suggests that it's the government involved in it as well. Government, which let's not kid ourselves, the entire Western Hemisphere is under the influence of the American oligarchy. But you won't hear much of this stuff, and if you do, you'll hear it slanted. And even if people do hear the truth, what do people really do around in this country? You don't see all the protests you see in the rest of the world going on here for many reasons. One, a lot of people don't know about them. Two, their time gets wasted by stupid shit like, oh, if a man looks at you the wrong way, it's rape, and he should go to jail. All these things that have been successfully used to divide us as a people, to make us turn on each other, turn on our neighbors, the people that we're closest geographically to. I mean, it's bad enough when you have that asshole neighbor that decides, oh no, the boundary goes a foot longer, and then you have to go to court for it, but all these things that people try to turn us against each other for, stupid shit, sex, color, and in the end it's all about money. It's all about who has money and who doesn't have money, and that's why I do this campaign, even though I'm not getting any attention, because, well, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if I'm being suppressed right off the bat because of YouTube algorithms. And let's face it too, we got a lot of people who only vote based on sex appeal, and that's something I don't have, nor what I want. But as long as we allow these things to keep dividing us, what's the future hold for us? You have a group of people that really just wants to kill the rest of us off. That's what they want to do. And, well, that's what they think they want to do, at least. I mean, I'm all for Darwin Awards. I love people doing all kinds of stupid shit to just basically end their own lives in the most reckless and idiotic ways. And normally, all the rich people, I would just have fun watching them do that. Because the reality is, all their plans, their lust for domination and power, that's all that's going to get them. The most painful ends compared to most of us. But, unfortunately, we live in a situation where they're going to drag us along with them. Like I say, no one is an island. And that's why they keep us from knowing the truth. And that's why we have to work harder to talk to our neighbors and say, hey, look, we need change. Talk to our neighbors, our coworkers, people we hang out with, because how much more is everybody going to take? You've got more than half this country making less than make less than $20,000 a year. In most places in the country, you can't live on that. Even if you're with somebody, you're going to have a hard time. But everybody keeps paying attention to videos like YouTube and other platforms. Oh, somebody's backing up. But anyways, even YouTube announced their new terms of service agreement coming out December 10th, which most people are completely fucking confused about. If you ask me, it's pretty clear as day that YouTube is ending itself as an interactive medium and becoming a purely broadcasting site. Something that, well, under certain circumstances, might not only end YouTube, because we know YouTube's ending already. Overall, it's going down the drain, but it might wind up ending the mainstream media also, under certain situations. So it'll be interesting to watch. But then what will we have? We'll have to all look for the next thing, or stop playing on our phones when we're on the subway Actually talk to our neighbor. And not in that, like, oh, this guy's kind of strange way. Just, hey, how you doing? What are you up to today? You know, things like this never used to be so uncommon, but now they are. But if we want to have a change, if you want to make your life stop sucking and not having to work so fucking hard just for a pittance, then the way we all start doing that is by talking to one another. Even those that we don't always agree with. And maybe one day we will all actually be the ones making the decisions on how this country works, rather than just turning it over every year to a bunch of assholes we barely even know. So thank you for your time.